Today we're talking all about DIY camp planning, and make sure you email us at ministrycoachpodcast@gmail.com for free resources to help you along the way.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Ministry Coach Podcast, where we bring you weekly tips and tactics to help you fast track the growth and health of your youth ministry. My name is Jeff Lascola, and with me is
Kristen Lascola.
Make sure you guys stick around for the question of the day.
Question of the day. I'm going to get a lot of haters on this one.
I know. I already know your answer.
I know, but I can't help it. It's really who I am.
Yeah.
So be it.
That's okay.
That's okay.
I'm sure there's a lot of other people out there who are a lot like you. So.
Find me. Let's join together and talk about it.
So today is part 2 of, I believe, a 3-part series, but all about camps. Last week, if you haven't already listened or watched it, make sure you go back and do so. But it was basically weighing the pros and cons of prepackaged camps and DIY camps, do-it-yourself camps. Today, we're kind of focusing more just on the do-it-yourself camps.
Yeah, because if it is a prepackaged camp, there's not much to do. So that would be a very short episode. Make sure you get your kids registered. Make sure you deposit the money.
Make sure they
get there and home. And other than that, chill, dude. Yeah. I broke it down into categories of different things you want to be aware of as you plan. So I guess number 1 is we need a location.
Right.
And let me just say, if you're doing a summer camp, you need a body of water. So
so desert is out, is what you're saying.
Well, okay. We've had a youth group at our church do a desert camp, but it was this really cool area with like rock slides and like a little
into water.
No, into cactus.
Otherwise, that would be really
You slide down the
boring.
rock, you land in the cactus. Whoever gets the most pokies wins.
Pokies, though.
What are they called? Needles?
Sure.
Cactus pokies.
A little delirious today, but that's okay.
We have a sick toddler. She's making us crazy. Yeah. So, body of water. So, that could be a lake. That we're going to go over bodies of water right now, in case you didn't know. Rivers.
Yeah.
I feel so dumb saying these. Beaches. Or maybe you hadn't thought of this. A pool.
Ooh, man-made.
Yeah, because sometimes there's really cool retreat centers or stuff like that that just have a pool. But basically, you want to choose your location. It doesn't necessarily even have to be that close to you. Where we go for summer camp, it's a 2-day drive with a billion junior hires. It's a good time. And you want to know what's funny? This shocks me every year. Their drive is one of their favorite parts of camp.
That's crazy.
I know. We take them literally whitewater rafting on the Klamath River, and they say they love the drive, the road trip, because we make a bunch of stops.
Only the trip there, or also the trip back?
Probably more so the trip there. We make a lot of stops. You know, they're in a car full of their friends for the whole week. We'll get into that later, but it's just funny.
Yeah.
So once you get that location, that's right after that, you're going to pick your dates, because whoever you're partnering with on that will determine your dates. You can't really pick dates until you know. So you get your dates, and here's my quick little snippet on that. I think July is the best for summer camp.
Okay.
June is too early because you've just got your new 6th grade or freshman class, and they're probably figuring out like where do I fit in? And it just feels so quick, you know?
School just got out.
Yeah. And then August just feels too late, because I don't know about you guys, but I feel like our kids go back to school like the 2nd week of August. And it's just like, where did the summer go? So I feel like July is that sweet spot. This year we're going the 8th through the 15th. I don't think it really matters what day of the week you start on or end on or whatever, but yeah, get your dates. And then once you have your location with water, if you need examples of water, email me. I'll go over them again. Okay, so then once you have the dates, you want to start calculating your cost. So number 1, you find the cost of the facility, obviously, and you divide that by the number of kids that you project to come, and that'll start to give you a baseline. If you're just talking about what does it cost to actually have this facility, this campground, whatever it might be. And then you want to add in your cost of leaders. So you might choose to have your leaders pay absolutely nothing, or you might have them kick in maybe half of what it would cost for a person to go. Then you need to add in the cost of transportation. So with that, you're going to add in gas. How much gas is it going to take to get there per vehicle? How many vehicles are you taking? And are these vehicles free? Sometimes you can get parents to drive or donate their vehicles. Where we go, we need really big 15-passenger vans, so we rent them. So I have to incur or calculate that cost as well. Mm-hmm. Transportation, that's probably our largest cost because of how far we go. And so one note on transportation, this is obvious, but I've made this mistake before. The less amount of vehicles you take, the cheaper it is. And it's like, duh. But what I mean by that is take larger vehicles. Right. Don't just take, oh, well, of course, we took like 4 cars and we could only take like 16 kids. No, it might make more sense to rent larger vehicles or only take parents' offers. Like I say, you can drive your own car if it seats 8 or more. Okay. But if it doesn't seat 8 or more.
So what you're saying is you could have like 10 parents be like, we're all going to donate our cars, and they all seat 4 to 5 people.
Right. And then I have to pay for all that gas for all those cars.
Just getting a few.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
So if you only get a few large vehicles, then so one tricky thing with the 15 passengers, you have to have a special license for that. So you want to make sure you plan well ahead on that, because like I think you need a Class B license. So they have to get like a medical exam and then take a test at the DMV. So that is a big ask, but some families just have big Suburbans or whatever, right, and they're willing to let you or a leader drive them, or they're willing to drive it themselves. But the bigger the vehicle, the better. Less vehicles, less gas, less rentals, whatever it might be. Don't take little cars. That adds up very quickly on transportation. And then you want to figure out the cost of food. So if you've never done it before, calculating the cost of food is hard. So what you want to do is come up with a menu of what you think you might serve at each meal. Or if there's meals you're going to buy out. There's one meal where we order pizza and bring it in. Maybe you're out and about somewhere and the kids are actually going to buy their own food. Maybe you're at a facility that covers food and you don't even have to worry about it. But DIY camps, food is a really huge factor. So once you do it for 1 year, just muscle through, then you'll have that same meal plan for all the other years. So we just do a big Costco run the week that we leave and do things like, one hot breakfast, one kind of grab and go breakfast, a sack lunch, and then like more of like tacos for lunch. And then, kind of change it up between easy and more work, easy and more work. So figure out the cost of food per person, and then the extra people cost. So this is things like if you need to pay a speaker, not if you have to pay a speaker, you need to pay your speaker. Right. If you're going to pay your worship leader, if you're going to pay a medic to come with you, stuff like that. Some of those people just flat out volunteer and it's fine, but just make sure you've asked before you say, hi, can you take a week off of work for free to come to my camp? And some of them are like, well, I don't work anyways. I'd love to. And some of them are like, no, I can't do it unless you pay me. So you need to know the extra people you need to pay. Yeah. And then any supplies. So if you need extra supplies for games, and we'll get into games next week, some camp games, but if you need to buy anything new for that, you need to factor that cost. And then promotion. And this is a cost that some people might forget, but do you need a graphic designed? And do you need to pay someone to do that? Do you need to have nice glossy flyers printed? Do you need to have a promo video made or something like that? Is there any promotional costs that you're going to incur? One thing I like to do is get like a big gator board poster for my room, and it's on my stage for like the last 6 months leading up to camp. So it'll say Adventure Whitewater coming summer 2021 July 8th through the 15th with our logo. And it's just up all the time. That costs very little, but it still costs something. So make sure you know.
Sorry to stop you for a second. You mentioned the promo video, which is another thing to always make sure you bring a videographer with you.
Oh yeah. I'm so glad you brought that up. I forgot.
That becomes the next year's promo video.
Yeah.
Taking snippets of
parents really want to see, like, we always show a recap video when we get home, like at big church, like to the congregation, like, this is what junior high did. Here's like, so bring a videographer with you and or a photographer as well. Like sometimes that person can be the same person, or it's not like you're like, I'm hiring a professional videographer. Like
somebody that knows what they're doing.
Exactly. Most likely there's a leader going with you that has a nice camera who's willing to take some pictures, or a parent who's willing to take some pictures while you guys are up there. You probably have a young college student who can do videography and make it like good enough. And my thing with videography is I'd way rather have a volunteer for that, someone who's just going to shoot a little bit of footage throughout the week, and then maybe I'll get them a gift card to say thanks, rather than paying a videographer. Because when we plan camp, I always push back on this with like the people I'm planning with, is because it's like, we're not charging for this DVD or download.
DVD?
I know. I just heard myself.
You meant VHS.
Download. You know, it's not like, hey,
you're not making any money on that.
So it's really hard for me to justify a cost like that when it's like, well, we have to have a speaker, but the videographer, hopefully that could be someone who is just coming anyways and can get some footage, maybe an intern or something like that. So, but yeah, I totally forgot about that. So I'm glad you brought it up. And then you always want to give yourself a little bit of a cushion. So factor in a few $100s as a cushion into your budget, because there will always be unforeseeable things like a tire blowing your way. And maybe you have nothing went wrong. So you want to treat your leaders to Starbucks one morning or something like that to say thank you. So just give yourself a cushion. You will need it. And if it's, what's that saying? Better to
have it, not need it.
Then you need it, not have it. Yeah. That one. Okay. So we have our location. We have our dates. We hopefully have our costs. That one's really tricky. So, hold on through that one. Once you do it 1 year, it'll get a lot easier the rest of the year. So just hold on to that hope. And then we're going to move on to communicate. So now that you have where you're going, when you're going, and how much it costs, you're ready to tell people, right? So you're going to start communicating it to the leaders, the parents, and the other staff, just so they know. So here's some ways that you can communicate it. So it's really great to have a camp logo that's going to go with whatever your theme might be for that week. And since it's your DIY camp, you get to pick it, right? So you can send that off to a third party, or if you have an in-house person to do it, but a camp logo with the dates and the costs that you can very easily turn into an Instagram post or something for a postcard, or, something in an email to parents or whatever. So the ways that you want to communicate that are included in your parent email that you should be sending out just once a week. I send out my parent email every Monday. So make sure you start promoting your camp that way. And then obviously on your social media platforms, put that poster in your room that I was talking about. It's just a fixture that's always up there reminding people it's coming. Make flyers and have them on your information table at your weekend services and your midweek services. You can even put them in your small group folders so that when your leaders go to get their discussion sheets or attendance or whatever out, they can hand out flyers to their kids. And then when you start getting close to the actual registration date, you want to make sure you start pushing that really hard. So I like to promote before registration opens. And if you work it into the cost, you could even do an early bird special to kind of get your signups like off the ground pretty quick. So an example would be our camp is about $420. Early bird special would be like $399. And then you just bump that cost. I mean, you work it out ahead of time, but that's where like a cushion comes in, or maybe you've bumped the cost to account for that. But that sometimes gets the buzz going and gets that first like week of signups off the ground.
You can also offer incentives if you guys are planning on doing like a camp shirt or something like that. You could say, hey, for the first 5 people that sign up, they get it for free. Or the first, 10 people get to choose their seating. I know that can be a real issue, especially with junior high. But there's little things like that you can offer. So for the first people to sign up, like you're saying, to get that ball rolling, that kind of entice them. Like, okay, I got to get my money in soon because I need to sit next to my friend. And if I don't, stuff like that does help.
Yeah. And you bring up a good point too. Another cost you might want to consider is if you're going to do a camp t-shirt, add in a few bucks per registration for that. And then direct people to where they need to go. Are you doing online registrations? Which I would highly recommend if you can somehow get that on your church website. If you don't already have it, a way for parents to pay with credit cards and be able to download your permission slips online. So once you start promoting it, you're going to need your permission slips written up. So we usually need 2 permission slips. One is for our church itself, and the other one is for whatever facility is requiring it. Make sure you can upload both of those onto the website. Or just if you can't, if your website, they're like, no, we don't do that here, then that's okay. You can include it maybe as an attachment in your parent emails and have it convenient that way. Because sometimes getting parents down to the junior high room to grab papers and then kids don't bring them home. Right. So if you can deliver them more easily to parents, that's always helpful. All right. So we've communicated it. We're guys, I mean, you're 4 steps in, you're getting closer here. So now we're going to move into the actual planning stage. So the first thing we need to plan is people. And some of this will overlap because, we had to talk about it during the cost part, but the people you need to figure out is your speaker. So who is going to speak at your camp? Pay your speaker. All right. Pay them. It's work to speak. They had to take time away from their family. So if you go in-house, it's usually cheaper. If you're trying to save some money, your friends will do favors for you for cheaper than a complete stranger. They want probably more money. I always go in-house first, not because of the money thing, because then I get to invite one of my friends to come and speak, and that's awesome. So find out who your speaker is, find out who your worship leader is, and that worship leader probably will get their own band, but who's going with you to do worship? Do you need a lifeguard, or will there be one where you're at? We've had near drowning incidents at our camps before. They're terrifying. Have someone with water skills watching the water at all times. I don't care how old the kids are that you are bringing, weird stuff happens and you don't want a headline about your camp. A medic, that's another, like for me, that has become a non-negotiable. It has made my life so much easier. We talked about that a little bit.
Separate than the lifeguard.
Yes. Okay. So this is the person who, I got a splinter, I got a bug bite, I twisted my ankle, I feel hot, I'm hallucinating. That's the person. True story.
I got bit by a rat.
Got bit by a rat. True story. I have a poisonous fish cut on my arm. True story. So yeah, you want a medic who knows what to do and can alleviate that. Because if you're trying to run program and there's a kid that needs medical attention, it's so stressful. I've had a year like that. It was one of the most exhausting weeks of my life because I attended to every need a kid had. And at the same time was trying to run a camp. And I was like, whoa, like, I don't care what a medic costs to bring, we're bringing them. So here's an example of a medic. I have a mom who is an RN and she takes one of her vacation weeks because she loves our camp. That's another thing. If your camp is fun, it's an easy sell for parents and leaders. Guess what? They're coming to me now. When's your camp? Do you need a driver? Can I come? Can I be your medic? Can I be your trailer driver? Because our camp is so fun. We go whitewater rafting. Adults want to go. Yeah. So if your camp's legit, you shouldn't have too much trouble finding help. But find a parent who's an RN or an MD, something like that, who can come along with you, and that's their thing. You're going to need medical supplies for them, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Some more people you're going to need are drivers. I like to have 2 adults per car. One is a driver, one is a leader. Drivers can't lead and navigate at the same time. So I usually have a parent who is, or some third party kind of person at our church who is one of my drivers. And then I pair them with one of my small group leaders to be the navigator and the communicator in the van. We communicate through Voxer the whole way up so that we stay in caravan, so that we stay in line when we know someone needs to stop for an unexpected reason. Hey, this kid's pooping his pants. We got to stop. Hey, this kid's about to bath. Let's stop. All right. And so then the driver's not like, oh, shoot, I'm trying to wait. What? Who's pooping? Oh, no, I got to let them know.
Wait, I need to decide who's pooping before I decide if I'm going to pull over.
Because it just gets chaotic.
Yeah.
So 2 adults per car. So who are your drivers and your leaders in each vehicle? And then do you need a cook? Do you need someone? And these roles can overlap, by the way. So
because they're not all full-time.
Exactly.
You know.
A driver would make a great cook because
Right.
once you're at camp, what are they going to do? A driver / MD would be a perfect combo. That's what I have. I have a driver and she also is my MD. So once we're at camp, she has a role. When we're on the road, she has a role. Nobody's like just idle, you know? So who's going to take care of making sure those meals are prepped and ready to go at the right times? It could be an overlap. Just make sure someone is thinking about that. All right. So you have your people. And now think of your theme. So maybe you've already thought about that because you needed your logo to promote, but maybe you can kind of fine tune that theme a little bit. So what do you want your messages to revolve around? A certain theme? Do you want your teams? When we talk about rec, we have certain teams like we've done like different mythological creatures like Bigfoot versus unicorns or something like that. And so you want to see like because that could influence like what colors you pick, like what you put on your t-shirts, stuff like that. So are you going to, in theme, you don't necessarily need to have. Some people really like theming everything, like the message ties into the teams and ties into the colors and all of that. And some people are more just like, just red versus blue and the speaker can do whatever they want. So it's totally up to you, but just something to think about.
I feel like a lot of them are just like a statement like awaken or alive 2021.
And it's just vague enough that you could really go any direction,
pretty
know?
much.
It's like any verse could tie in there, and you might want to connect with your speaker on this and just say like, hey, do you have like a vision? And they'll probably ask you, what do your kids need to hear right now? And you'll be like, I don't know, what's on your heart right now? And you guys will kind of just go around and around till someone picks something. So worth having a conversation with them about the message. And then you want to move into planning your recreation. So next week, we're going to talk much more in depth about camp games and stuff like that. But for now, just know that is an item you need to plan. Each day, are you going to have like on the way up, we're doing a talent show one night, or then at our morning chapel, we're going to have like a up in front game and it's going to be this. And then that evening, we're going to have a team game that's going to be a water game. And then we're going to play, you just need to know what rec games you want to do so that you can start getting the supplies needed for those. So think about rec. And then you want to do food. So this is where you want to do your detailed menu and exactly what you're going to serve for breakfast, lunch, and dinner each day and what food items are needed for those. So whoever is cooking for you, you might want to include them in this conversation. We do, like I said, the Costco run that week and then figure out what meals are out, like meaning pizza or whatever, like we talked about before, but coming up with your menu per day. And then are there like snacks you want to sell up there? Sometimes we bring a bunch of soda and candy. And then at night free time, we'll open up our own little snack shack because, kids be hungry and they always want snacks and they will never turn down candy. And it brings kind of like a more like fun atmosphere too. Something to do and all of that at night. So you could be prepared for that. And then let's move into supplies because you're going to need a way to store that food, right? So some supplies you might want to think through are, what do I need for food? Do I need coolers? Is there a refrigerator up there? Do I have access to ice when my ice melts? We go into town to replenish our ice supply or some of our fresh ingredients that we need. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, we do sandwiches one day and I buy all the bread ahead of time at Costco and the cheese, but I wait and get the meat once we're in town. I run up to the store and we buy a bunch of meat because storing it for that many days, it's just too hard to like replenish the ice at that ratio. It's just like, and then if the ice melts, it gets into the meat package. Ew. And now the meat's like floating around.
Question of the day last week was, what word can you not stand? And I think this is a word picture you're painting.
Ugh, it's gross. Yeah. So make sure or like the meat will freeze because then it's like we've had it in the cooler too long. So it does take a little bit of strategy and it doesn't defrost right. So, plan meals like whatever is fresh and needs to get used up.
Yeah.
Put that at the beginning. So coolers, ice, and then anything you need to cook. Is there that stuff at the place you're going, or do you need to bring spatulas and a grill and cutting boards and bowls and all that kind of stuff?
And anything to clean that stuff with too.
Yes, cleaning supplies, foil, all that kind of stuff. But here's one little tip is at our camp, we have our kids bring like a camping plate, fork, spoon, and cup. And then we have like sanitization stations where they wash it each night when they're done. Well, not each night, each meal. And that way we aren't buying like 8 billion paper plates, 8 trillion cups. They have their cup for the week. And then you have like the dump station, the rinse station, the wash station, and the sanitization station. And the cook will obviously change that water and soap out for you. I bring my own sponge because I can't handle other people's sponges. So it's like, the sponge and everyone's using it. Ugh. And so I bring my own little sponge and keep it in a Ziploc bag separate from everybody. It's my one luxury on my camping trip.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. Yeah. Okay. But so that's just one little tip you might want to consider. So the food situation, what do you need for that? And then you want to also think through your tech supplies. Do you want amplified worship or are you fine with just someone standing there? Do you need amplification for music? So that might include a simple setup like we don't bring a screen. We park our trailer behind our program place so that the side of the trailer is the projection screen because it's white and smooth. Then the worship guy stands in front of that. We have a generator, 2 speakers, 1 mic, guitar, cajon, market lights. Now we have a stage and we're set. That's it. It's very simple with the laptop. So we do project the lyrics. We have music to kind of hype up our event or if we need to use it for a game or whatever. But what are those supplies you're going to need tech-wise? If you have a tech person at your church, invite them into that conversation. That's what I do. I just go, here's what I want to do. What do I need? And they kind of put it all together for me. And then your medical supplies. So if you don't have a medical director or a safety director at your church, then you might want to connect with the MD themselves that you're planning on bringing or the RN. So you could say, hey, what kind of supplies should we foresee? Bring stuff for the girls. Let's just say that because I have had many junior high girl start for the very first time at camp. And you definitely want to have some extra supplies on hand for that. You want to have, talk to the MD. They'll know everything that you need to bring, but that one yes, don't forget that. And then any rec supplies that you're going to need for your game. So think about cones, think about dodgeballs, think about flags, for like flag football kind of stuff. Think about floaty stuff like noodles or whatever if you're playing water games, inner tubes, and a pump, a way to pump stuff up. So think about all of that. And this sounds like a lot of work. And that's why I told you guys last week, I'm planning summer camp about 9 months out of the year. You just take it in little bite-sized chunks and you do a little bit each week and it's definitely manageable. You can do it. All right. And then the other things, these are like little extras that you just want to consider is a packing list. So, If you go to a camp, they might provide a packing list for you on their website. You can use that as a jumping off point. And then anything, if you're doing your DIY camp, that you're going to need specifically, like we go rafting. So there's a very specific kind of shoe they need to wear in the water, like a closed-toed shoe that's not going to fly off. And girls need to wear this kind of bathing suit because we're rafting. And then make sure you bring bug spray because we're out in the wilderness, stuff like that. So we do, since ours is a road trip, kids need to bring money to buy their meals on the way up and way back. So you want to give an estimated cost for parents of how much money their student needs to bring, all that kind of stuff. And then Jeff, you kind of mentioned it before, but we do van assignments, and this is a matrix nightmare. I hate doing it, but it's for very good a reason. So in order to keep everyone organized and where they are supposed to be, each van has a number, and each van has a specific van assignment of who is in that van, and they cannot switch. When you get out at McDonald's, Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, Popeyes, and all the kids go everywhere, when they all come back, if they've all done musical chairs in the vans, it is impossible to tell if you have everybody. Yeah. And it's so sketchy. Like, oh my gosh, so-and-so's still at line at Starbucks. Well, if I have all the different kids and it's just, I assume that kid's somewhere. But if the same kids get out and get in at every single stop, it's so much easier to tell. I can keep track of my 11 kids. Yeah. That seat is empty. Why is it empty? Or, well, maybe that seat's empty because they went to another van and because we were one seat over, and now you're on Voxer like, has anyone seen Megan? Right. Like, it's like, no, just get them in the van. Now, it's a lot of work on the front end because you will have to break some hearts and maybe deal with some upset parents, but it'll all work out if you need to make some adjustments and make people happy the best that you can. Because, I mean, it's important. They're on a 2-day trip. They want to be with their friends. So you do your absolute best. I try to do it by small groups. It's like, well, I figure if you're in the same small group, you must know each other and be friends and have a good time. And then any overflow, I try to see who would fit best together. It's
drama either way.
It's never going to be perfect.
If you plan it in advance, there's going to be drama. I wanted to be with this person and, and all that. And then if you do it the day of and just say free for all, then there's a problem. We don't want this person in the van. Like, it's a lose-lose. But
then I have to find a new seat.
Right. Totally.
We don't want Kristen. She's so annoying. But
it also depends on how big your group is. If you're bringing 6 people, it's like, well,
yeah,
one car, who cares?
Exactly. I'm just saying, if you're bringing we usually have a caravan of 10 vehicles, and it's like, you need to have some organization at that point.
And you guys are doing a lot of stopping. It's not like a 1 hour trip. And that's the thing.
Yeah, it's the stops where we really need those van assignments. And a little tip on that, just do not let students see the van assignments prior to leaving. They find out that morning, and that's that. We get in the car, we load up, because you will get about 500 phone calls and, no, can I switch to this? And it's like, you do your best. We want everyone to be happy, but we can't make every single person happy. So with that, another planning element is, this is kind of like the last thing before you get on the road, is maybe 2 weeks before your camp, you have a leader/driver meeting. Basically, any adult who is helping you on this trip is going to go with you, or is going to have a meeting with you. And you're going to go over the itinerary. You're going to go over the rules of the road. You're going to give them a play-by-play of each day and where you're going and stopping and all of that, and what they can expect, how to get a hold of you, make sure they've downloaded the Voxer app, all of that kind of stuff. You can give them their van assignments, but be careful, because if they have students that are in your ministry, they might see it. So you don't really want that out before. And then you also want to have a parent meeting. I like having the parent meeting about same time frame, 2 weeks, 3 weeks before camp, to say, hey, this is what we're doing. If you have any questions, here's the packing list. Here's how to get a hold of us. Here's what you need to make sure your student understands. This is our departure time, just to get parents all on the same page, especially for a DIY camp, because there's so many moving parts. You need everybody, on the same page. And one thing in the planning that I meant to say also is a schedule for each day you're at camp. So you want to plan like, and we can send you a PDF of this if you want, like just, I can give you an example of a typical day for us at camp, but it's really helpful for your leaders at that leader meeting to have like, hey, here's what the week is going to look like. These are the days that we're rafting. These are the days we're at camp. This day we're going into town. This day, you know, whatever it might be, just so that they're prepared and ready to go. You need to write the schedule for that whole week. And you can choose whether or not to give it to your parents at the parent meeting or not. But once you've done all of that, you're probably ready to go. So depending if you can fit all your supplies and luggage in the vehicles you're taking, or do you need to find a trailer and a truck and tow it that way? That's what I have to do. We are lucky enough to have a trailer at our church. I just need to find someone who to tow it. It's usually no problem. And we load most of the luggage and the coolers and game supplies and everything in the trailer. And so pack it all up, get everyone in, and hit the road and post a lot on your Instagram along the way. Make sure everyone knows what you're doing and be available for parents to check in as needed. But once you're on the road, it's still work, but it's pretty fun.
Well, like Kristen mentioned, make sure you guys send us an email and ask for the DIY camp checklist, and we'll have all those things in PDFs for you guys to go over, just to kind of give you a checklist of things like make sure you do this, everything we just talked about will all be in there. And so that is a great resource for you guys as you're going through and planning your camp, whether it's for this year or any year in the future. And also, like Kristen said, once you go, you're probably going to know what you're going to have to change for the next year, because
year
it kind
one
of
is
evolves.
the hardest. Keep good notes.
Yeah.
Save everything you do and then go back the next year and tweak it.
And get better.
Yeah. So movies.
Oh, yes. I was like, what are you talking about? I guess you could play movies. The question of the day is, what movie do you think you're the only person? Well, not the only person.
What's a popular movie?
What's a popular movie that you're the only one you think hasn't seen?
So
I worded that horribly.
You did. It's okay. So a movie that most people have seen that I have not seen, I feel like a traitor to my culture, was Star Wars. I've seen a few. So when you and I were dating, you were like, I'm going to take you through the Star Wars because you haven't seen them.
I made that mistake.
So I watched, and this is weird how they're numbered, first of all. Wow. I should have known. But I watched episodes 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
Painstakingly. And they were horrible. I'm sorry. I know some of you are just like, this is nails on a chalkboard to you. And you're so angry at me. And you'll never listen to my podcast ever again. But I really hated it. So 4, 5, and 6, I forced myself. And then once we got to 1, 2, and 3, I said, this is my life. I only have so much time, and I am not spending it doing like this.
And it wasn't worth it for me because she was just moaning and groaning the whole time. So, you know what? It'll just be my thing, and you'll have to.
I tried,
be left to your own
but can't
devices.
you? But I hope our listeners can respect that I tried. I made it 50% through. That's a lot. You're not a
sci-fi fan though either, so
I am not.
You don't like anything with aliens in it. Like everything that you don't like in movies, that movie had all of. So it was a bad fit.
You know who I did like? And if they made a movie just with him, I might give it a try. I love C-3PO.
You're the only person who says
he's the
that.
gold one, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I was making sure it wasn't that little R2D2.
No,
he was
you
like,
got the right one.
It's like, yeah.
You're the only
cute.
person in the world that says C-3PO is your favorite character.
He's just a gentleman, and he's very organized and
whiny. Yes, he is.
I like him. I think we'd be friends.
The movie I would say for me is Disney or Pixar's Cars. I think I've seen a little bit of it. I've seen Cars 2.
Oh, I was just going to say, I thought we just watched
but
that.
I've never seen Cars 1. And
really?
I feel like that's like a staple for... I mean, that was a whole franchise. I think they made at least 3 movies out of it. I never saw Cars,
There could be a 4.
Coming up?
No, I think there is a Cars 4.
I don't know. But I've never seen the first one, so that's mine.
Well, it's good, but it's not like one of those things where it's like you're you're a traitor.
It's not
to
like
the
Star Wars where our culture is like based mostly off of it.
Exactly. But
make sure you guys comment below whatever your movie is that you feel like you're the only one who hasn't seen. And we will see you guys next week where we're talking all about camp games. And don't forget to download all those PDFs. All right, talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.